The Paper Bag, Chapter 9.
Eli helped me get dressed. He put an orange silk hanky into my front pocket.
Sir, you look magnificent.
He bowed. When I looked in the mirror, I did look good. But it wasn't me. Thank you, it's perfect. I hope my Aunt Cass is paying you well.
The usual fee?
I'm curious, how much is that?
Rush jobs are $15,000.
I wanted to take off the suit and give it back. But Cass would probably shoot me if I showed up to this all-important dinner in jeans and a t-shirt.
Jack.
I heard Cass call from a box on my wall. Yes, I replied to it.
Everyone is arriving, you need to be up here.
I'm on my way. I raced up the stairs, taking them two at a time. When I reached the family room, Cass met me in a glittery yellow gown.
This way.
She held out her hand to me and took me to the hallway. It was filled with a long table on one side and on the other a fireplace. In front of it were 3 couches in a horseshoe shape. The fire crackled loudly. Eddie was talking to an elder.
Jack, this is Talmadge and his son Abe.
Eddie said, introducing them. They both bowed their heads briefly. On Abe's arm was Skunk.
You know his girlfriend.
You're the prince?
Her cheeks turned pink. I smiled at her embarrassment and pulled on Eddie's arm. How come she didn't know? I spoke to him in my mind.
It makes my job easier if they don't know. After tonight, everyone will know. Some of the world's biggest gossips are in this room, and they aren't all seraphim.
Which one is Thana?
The witch standing next to Samuel. Drakes are very jealous. They keep their women beside them as a show of unity and respect. Elders are required to keep some secrets from their spouses, but most don't.
I nodded my head.
Please, let's be seated.
Cass said loudly enough to be heard over the chatter in the room. Frank was by her side in a dark red pinstriped suit with a green shirt and a bow tie that matched Aunt Cass's dress. It looked awesome. We all sat around the table. Cass sat me between Eddie and Frank, which meant Eddie had to sit by Thana.
You should talk to everyone or they will think you are rude. Most of them have self-esteem issues.
Eddie said to my mind. I gave him a disbelieving look. Soup was the first course. Just before I put my first spoonful in my mouth, the seraphim across from me asked,
"How do you like Florida weather?"
I put my spoon down. It's very pleasant. I picked up my spoon again.
What have you studied in college?
Her husband asked. I haven't gone to college yet. After my parents. I stopped and looked down at my bowl and began again. After my parents were abducted, I didn't want to do anything, so I haven't really thought about it. He didn't seem to be happy with my answer. What do you do for a living? I asked to get the subject off me.
I have 5 successful businesses.
He went on for several minutes explaining about each. Then the Drake sitting next to him had to tell me all about what he did for a living without me asking. Eddie leaned close to me.
I told you.
But I was talking to them. I whispered back.
Did you see the game last night?
Eddie bellowed over the Drakes bragging. Everyone began complaining about how bad the referees were and that the Florida Gators should have won. I finally got to take a bite of my soup only to have the second course arrive. Before me was placed the largest slice of prime rib I had ever seen. There wasn't a conversation anywhere at the table as everyone was wolfing the meat down, even the seraphim. When I was almost finished with mine, a server came by and offered me more, which I gladly accepted. The final course was a beautiful pudding dessert decorated with real flowers. I was afraid to eat it. Eddie nudged my shoulder.
If you're too full, I'll eat that for you.
I'm going to eat it. Can't I admire it first? That had Eddie shaking the table. He was laughing so hard. If that wasn't bad enough, Frank started laughing too. Not because he heard what I said, but because Eddie fell off his chair and knocked my spoon full of pudding right out of my hand. It spun in the air several times before landing on Thana's head. She didn't look too amused. With a huff, she stood.
"You half-breed moron."
Her words had Eddie, Cass, and Frank standing. I had been called worse things by kids at school, so it didn't offend me. My eyes scanned the place settings for another spoon. Since Eddie was the cause of me losing mine, I stole his and began to eat my dessert. Everyone but Cass slowly sat down. I put the creamy pudding into my mouth. It was delicious. That was the only bite I got because Cass announced.
The Queen will be joining us in a few moments in the next room.
I looked up from my dessert at Cass. but I glanced at Thana first. Her eyes shot daggers at me and then Cass. Her husband had most of the pudding in her hair cleaned up. His efforts ruined her hairstyle. It was like my mother said everyone has their own agenda and everyone in the room could see Thana's, as if she was making a public announcement that no half-breed would sit on their throne. At that moment, the doors were opened wide by two yellow handrakes. They bowed low as one announced,
Queen Jeanette is ready to receive you.
I grabbed my napkin, wiped the remains of dinner from my face, and followed my Aunt Cass out into the ballroom. My mother was sitting on a throne of gold and dressed in a white dress that made her appear to be sitting on a cloud. I wonder if Eli made it. She looked beautiful and fragile. In her arms was my sister Rose. She was awake and looking about the room. I wanted to get her, but I didn't think it would be the proper thing to do. What we didn't need right now was another outburst from Thana. I glanced at her sour face. She looked hopeful that she might obtain the throne after seeing my mother. Looking at the faces in the room, I got a sense of who would be for Thana and who wouldn't. The room seemed to be divided. With those in favor of my mother stood near Cass and those opposed stood behind Thana and Samuel. I felt sorry for my mother facing them all alone, so I walked up to her side and bowed before her. The others did the same, probably not wanting to be outdone by a half-breed.
Thank you.
My mother said in the loudest voice she could muster.
I want you to know that I am healing. Please forbear me your patience. Cyrus, my friend.
A tall, strong drake approached my mother.
I am entrusting you with the task of finding my husband. Without him, I will not be able to heal completely.
I will do my best, Queen Jeanette.
He turned to leave, and Eddie followed him out of the room. Maybe later they will invite me to go with them. Who was I kidding? I was under house arrest until further notice. No one has come out and said that I was, but it was an undeclared fact. My mother couldn't talk anymore because she broke down crying. I rose to my feet, took my sister from her and stood beside my mother. Rose pouted as if she was going to cry too. I gently took my mother's cold hand.
We thank you all. Please find your way back into the dining hall. Then we can discuss the matter for which you all have come.
Cass announced. I started to follow the others, but Cass put a hand on my chest.
Believe me, you don't want to be in this meeting. Besides, your mother wants to talk to you.
When the crowd had all filed back into the dining hall, the servants pulled the back of the gold throne away. They easily lifted my mother out of it and carried her up the stairs. Rose and I followed them. Lupita was in the room waiting for us. The servants set my mother down on the rock.
My prince, please give me a moment with your mother that I may make her comfortable.
Lupita said and gestured to the nursery. I went to the door but didn't leave until the two servants had shut the door to my mother's room. All of this seemed wrong. I had an unsettled feeling that would not leave me. Rose started to fuss, maybe she felt it too. I sat in the rocker hoping the soothing sensation of rocking would bring some relief, but I found myself going too fast. It did help my baby sister as she calmly drifted off to sleep. I wish I was like you, able to sleep anywhere. You were even happy in the gym bag. How in the world did you let me get away with not feeding you every 2 hours? I should have given you at least 2 bottles, if not more. Was it the mouse? She didn't answer. How could she? Instead, she made sucking motions with her lips. Her hair had gotten longer, and I played with it absent-mindedly until Lupita opened the door.
Your mother is settled and wants you.
That was a good sign to me. She wouldn't want me if she was feeling sick. I gave Rose to Lupita and walked quietly into the room, shutting the door behind me. When she saw me, she held out a shaking hand. She was bare naked again with just a blanket covering her.
Your test will begin tonight, but I wanted to talk with you first.
I gulped hard at the thought of being tested. Are they going to hook me up to a bunch of machines? My mother laughed quietly.
No, these tests are different, and I am your first test subject. The more things you can do, the more valuable you will become to them.
Wow, no pressure, Mom.
You can handle this. Now put both hands on my chest right here.
She placed her hand almost between her breasts on top of the blanket.
Close your eyes and tell me what you see.
Mom, I don't feel comfortable doing this.
It is the proper way for a dragon to divine illnesses.
Divine? I tried not to look too confused, but I failed.
They are like doctors. I believe you have the gift, and our last diviner died years ago.
Then who has been taking care of you?
A yellow hand. She has the gift, but it is weak, and it upsets her to touch someone like me, so she has trouble divining what is wrong. She thinks it's with my heart, but she couldn't see clearly enough to fix it.
How would she fix it?
Do you remember your cat, Alex?
Yes.
He got sick, and you said he ate poison. When your father took him to the vet, she said the same thing.
The day was fresh in my mind, but the hand placement was wrong. Let me see your feet? She pulled her eyebrows together in confusion. When I did this with Alex, I held his back paws. She sighed and tried to move the blanket. I knelt on the floor and carefully pulled the blanket back. My mother's legs were covered with bruises. What are all these bruises from?
You tell me, diviner.
Her voice had a hint of a smile to it. I put a hand on each foot. Now what?
Close your eyes and feel the body. This is how it was explained to me.
Her feet were cold as ice, so I thought of heat to warm the blood. It moved sluggishly as if it was filled with ice. I continued to think about heat, and I directed it from my palms and fingers into the blood until it moved more easily. Then I followed it to her heart. I concentrated on warming the heart for a long time until it glowed with the heat. My mind needed a better look, and to do that I needed to place my hands on her heart. Blinking, I opened my eyes. You were right, I said. I need to touch your heart. My mother smiled at me as I leaned over her. Her skin was glowing and healthy looking. She held out her arm to me.
See, the bruises are gone. My skin looks better than it has ever looked, and I feel warm.
All I did was warm your blood. I gently placed one hand on top of the other and closed my eyes. Her heart was beating better, but I could see the part that was damaged. I did not have the skills to fix it. In despair, I slid my hands off her and sat on the rock beside my mother.
How bad is it?
That's not the problem. I don't know how to fix it, I whispered. The weight of this knowledge brought tears to my eyes. What good is this gift if I don't know how to use it to help? I sobbed, unable to control my emotions any longer, and leaned my head on my mother. Her hand lovingly moved through my hair.
I am so sorry, my boy. Your father and I wanted a normal life for you.
She pulled me closer. Whatever I had done made her stronger. There were many nights I had longed to be close to my mother like this. So we embraced until Cass came to get me. It wasn't even a minute. Cass gasped when she saw my mother sitting up.
May I bring in the others?
No, I said forcefully.
How about 3, just to witness to the others?
I looked at my mother.
I can handle it, thanks to you.
She patted my arm reassuringly. Cass went out and I quickly wiped my face. When they came into the room, I stood and blacked out. When I blinked my eyes open again, I was outside on the healing stone. Eddie was reading a book about law and scribbling something on paper. I watched him do this several times before he noticed I was awake.
How are you feeling, Jack?
I sat up, looked at my hands. I feel surprisingly good. How is my mom?
She is up and sitting on the couch getting caught up on all the gossip.
I tried to stand up.
Hold on there. You should eat something before trying that. You really scared Cass.
He brought me a bowl of freshly killed mice coated with hot sauce. I pushed it away. I'm not like you. I don't think I will ever be able to eat mice.
I think you should try it.
He stuck one in his mouth and swallowed. I frowned. You didn't even taste it. I would rather have beef. The urge to puke didn't come as I rose to my feet. I must be getting used to seeing Eddie eat mice. My legs were a bit wobbly, but nothing I couldn't handle. With every step, I felt better. By the time I stepped into the house, I was walking normal. Frank, do you have any prime rib left?
Do you want it warmed?
He was grinning widely at me. Yes, and give me a bottle of the hottest sauce you have. My mother cleared her throat. Please, I added. It's nice having you back, Mom.
Have you forgotten your manners, Jack?
No. I grabbed the plate of meat Frank served me. It had a fork and knife tucked under the steak. Thank you, Frank, I said politely and grabbed the bottle of hot sauce. Maybe I'm sentimental, but I wanted to sit by my mom. So I made my way and sat next to her and held out my hands.
Eat first.
she said, pulling her feet closer to the couch as if I would reach out and grab them. With fork and knife in hand, I quickly ate my fill. I had to force myself to finish off the last 4 bites. I just want to see if what I did is still working, I said through a mouthful of meat.
Really, Jack? Don't talk with your mouth full.
It could all be a charade to mask how she really was feeling. Mom, may I have your feet, please? Everyone in the room gathered round to watch me work. Without arguing, she placed her cold feet into my outstretched hands. I closed my eyes and pulled my mind into her body. It was as though I was a tiny speck in her blood, and yet I wasn't. Heat flowed from me. This time I noticed the color of my heat. It was a bright blue, but the more heat I gave my mother, the dimmer it became. I stopped when it changed to white and opened my eyes.
How do you feel?
My mother was glowing with the heat I had given her. I'm learning to know when to stop.
That is good.
She pulled me into her arms.
My sweet boy.
No one will be able to deny him a place with us.
Cass said excitedly.
That's not so good. Now I will have to keep everyone away from him. When news spreads that we have a diviner in the royal house, they will be lining up at the door to get in.
Eddie nervously paced the room. That's when I noticed Lupita standing just outside the doorway trying to look unobtrusive. Was she eavesdropping or waiting for the baby to cry? My mother was having a wonderful time talking to my baby sister, trying to get her to smile. When will I be able to do this without getting so tired?
You are going to the repository tomorrow to work with Curator Saul. We call him Salty because he is so old. We don't have anyone who can train you except the Yellow Hand, and her gift isn't as strong as yours.
Salty has to be over 300 years old.
303. He just had a birthday.
Thana was so apologetic when she saw your mother walk downstairs.
My eyes glanced at the entrance from the hall. Lupita was still listening to us.
They want to test you again.
What? Didn't I pass?
Oh, you passed with flying colors. You may have other gifts that we may not know about, and they want to test you on all of them.
Surely they will be respectful seeing how it's drained Jack today.
My mother asked.
That's why they are waiting a week between each. This is what we have always wanted, sis. The elders will be too afraid to lose Jack to not go along with what we ask. Then we can really make changes that will increase the dragon population.
Cass, let's take it slow. Things can turn so easily against us.
My mother warned.
I know, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Can't you?
All I see is danger for my son and daughter.
My mother sighed and kissed my baby sister on the forehead.
I don't want to overdo things. Good night, everyone.
We all stood when my mother did. I was by her side to steady her. Do you want me to carry you up the stairs?
No, I think I can make it if I take my time.
Lupita approached us with her head bowed as we entered the grand hallway.
Please, my queen, let me carry the princess for you.
Thank you, Lupita.
My mother smiled at her.
It is a pleasure to serve my queen.
We stopped several times before reaching the top. I placed both palms on my mother's back nearest her heart. It was pounding hard, but she seemed to handle it okay. Mom, tomorrow if you go downstairs, please let someone carry you back up. Your heart is working too hard and I'm afraid I will lose you again. She just nodded. When we reached her door, she stopped me from going in.
I can do it myself, and if I can't, Lupita will help me.
I love you, Mom.
I love you too, my boy.
She kissed my cheek.
Thank you.
When I turned to leave, I saw Lupita looking at me through a crack in the nursery door. Curious to know what was going on, I went to the door. Why do you keep staring at me?
So sorry, my prince, it's my husband Bean. He suffers so. I thought since you helped your mother, you could help him.
I'm not very good at divining. Eddie walked into the grand hallway and looked up. Lupita pulled me into the room.
Forgive me.
She whispered and moved away from me, bowing low.
Eddie would have seen me talking to you and I would receive a beating for it.
I couldn't believe he would do that. I would help if I could.
I will send Tad to get you tonight. Drink plenty of hot sauce and jalapeno peppers. They will give you strength.
Well, it did require a lot of heat to heal my mother. What could it hurt? And I would get to see how the Organsis clan live, I thought. When? I whispered as if someone could hear me.
Go to sleep as always, and when everyone is asleep, he will come and wake you. Thank you. You are so kind to do this favor for me.
Don't thank me yet. I don't know if I can help him.
That you would even agree to go and try it deserves my thanks.
When do you leave to see him?
I have not seen him as I cannot leave Rose.
That's not right. I'm going to talk to Cass about that.
Please do not. She will surely be unhappy if you do.
I left her trembling in the nursery, determined to question Cass about Lupita. When I got to the kitchen, only Eddie was in the room and everything was cleaned up. I need a cup. Where does Frank keep them? I pulled open a cupboard next to the stove.
To the right of the sink?
I am having a drink. Do you want one? I set a large bottle of hot sauce on the counter and opened the fridge. The bottom bins usually hold the vegetables, so I started to look through them until I found the jalapenos. They were in a large plastic bag.
I see you need something extra spicy. It always gives me a boost of strength.
Do you have a blender?
You don't know what you're doing, do you?
Eddie raised his eyebrows at me. I have done this before.
But you're missing some key ingredients.
Like what?
Lemon juice, sugar, salt.
He came around the counter and took out the blender. I watched him closely as he added 2 cups of hot sauce, a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, 2 stalks of celery, and 12 jalapeno pepper seeds in all. He counted each one as he added it to the spicy liquid in the blender. The last thing he added was a lemon, which he peeled like an orange. After it blended for a few minutes, Eddie proclaimed,
"It's perfect."
He began to fill 2 large cups full to brim with his concoction and slid one in front of me.
This will put hair on your chest.
I laughed and smelled the drink deeply. It tickled the hairs in my nose with its heat.
1, 2, 3.
Eddie said and started chugging. I didn't want to be outdone by him, so I started to drink. It was so delicious that I didn't want to stop, even though I was sure it would melt my esophagus and burn when it exited my body. The heat gave me a lift that I could not explain. That's good stuff, I said, wiping my mouth. I'm going to bed. It's been a long day. Thanks for the drink.
Sure, Jack.
Eddie watched me get a blanket from the couch and head outside to sleep on the healing stone.
Are you all right?
Yeah, why? He raised an eyebrow at me.
You're acting nervous and you still have your suit on.
I'm worried about my mom. I couldn't fix her heart. I went down to my room and took off my very expensive clothes and hung them up before looking around the room. Cass did say she went shopping for clothes. I pulled open a drawer. It was filled with jeans and exercise clothes. I pulled out a pair of pants with an elastic waistband and put them on before heading outside again.
Jack, Salty will answer all your questions tomorrow. You'll be amazed.
Eddie called as I opened the door to the back patio. Wonderful, I said as I stepped outside. The air was warm and a cool breeze made it just right. The rock was warm as always, and so was my body. I was so hot from the peppers. I felt like I could spit flames. Felt good. I fell asleep quickly. I was shaken awake by an average-sized man with very rough, calloused hands.
Follow me.
His black, careful eyes looked about. So, no one would see that I wasn't here. I tried to make the blanket look as though I was still in it. It was a poor attempt, but might fool someone from a distance. We hurried off the grounds and into the woods, following a well-worn path. Tad moved so fast that I was having trouble keeping up with him. Slow down. He bowed his head and waited for me.
My prince, if we do not hurry, I fear Bean will be gone before we get there.
Lupita didn't say it was that serious.
She didn't know.
We took off running this time. If I knew how to turn into a dragon, we could have made better time, or maybe not. The path was too narrow for a dragon. It was becoming more appealing to me just to feel what it would be like to be one. The path opened into a village, with round grass huts. In the middle of the village was a water pump. We ran through the village until we were about to go into the forest again. He stood in front of a small house with an old curtain for a door and pulled the curtain open for me to enter. Inside I saw 2 beds. A dim light on a table flickered as Tad followed me in. An older man sat in a wooden chair next to the bed. He was nothing but skin and bones.
You brought him, praise God.
The man said and bowed himself down all the way to the dirt floor in front of me. I pulled up the blankets to expose the feet of the man in the bed, only to find that they were black and withered. Does he have frostbite?
I do not know what that is.
Tad looked at me confused. Within me I knew I had to help, but if this was the inner cold my mother was suffering from, I worried that I might not make it. A young woman came in.
This is Andy. She's our diviner.
Do you know what's wrong with him? I looked at her and waited. She was a shy thing with big lips and dark green eyes.
It's his blood, my prince, same as your mother. It was too much for me to cure.
She spoke my fears aloud. They had risked so much, and I would not be able to help him. I make no promises that I can do any better. The older man began to cry. It was the way I cried when I lost my parents. This was his son, I was sure of it. I placed my hands on Bean's dirty feet. The spices I had drunken earlier burned into the man. Another person entered the hut, but I kept focused on Bean's body. For all I knew, if I opened my eyes and turned to look, I would see Death holding a reaping blade in his hand. Bean's blood was frozen solid in his feet. To create more heat, I took my hands off his feet and rubbed them together until they were hot to the touch. In the dim light, my hands seemed to glow before I placed them on the man again. Immediately, the blood began to turn to slush like my mother's. My mind told me that this process needed to be done slowly, so I moved to his hands. I took hold of his hands and closed my eyes. Warmth sprang from my fingertips and palms glowing blue into him. This man was at death's door. When his blood was moving, I checked his heart. There isn't any damage? My words came out surprised. The heat from my hands went to work, but I continued to go slow. Again, I moved to his feet, then his hands, and then to the heart, repeating this pattern until the color of my heat began to lighten. The drink Eddie had given me was making the fire within me burn longer. How did Lupita know it would have this effect? Bean opened his eyes and looked around the room.
How did this happen?
He asked in a raspy voice. I focused on the sounds in the tiny house and looked about. Eddie was standing near the entrance holding hands with Andy. You sly dog, I murmured before passing out.
Fire and brimstone spin around you. Haze of smoke, can't find what's true. Lost my sight in this darkened maze. Who am I in this heavy daze? Shadows dance on your wicked grin. Secrets held in the whispers thin. Ash and ember fall from the sky. Is this the truth or a twisted lie? Caught in flames that never tire. Burning questions fuel the fire. Smoke and mirrors hide your face. Lost in this infernal chase.